Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world, and welcome to this week's Gift of Healing TV. My name's Sarah Jane, and I am your hostess for this evening, and I am delighted to welcome our guest this week, Joanne Rosamond, who is in, now where are you in America, Joanne?
Well, you could say Houston. I'm in Tomball, Texas, but it's just on the outer edge of Houston, Texas.
Okay, so Houston in Texas. So we're carrying on our theme of bringing people from all over the world to sort of to share with you. And so wonderful to have you with us, Joanne. Let me introduce Joanne to you. Joanne Rosamond lived her life as an unhappy and later very angry victim until 2001, when her study of forgiveness allowed her to heal her past and bring personal power, freedom, and joy into her whole life. Now at age 72?
Almost. In August, I'll be 72.
It's still 71. Okay. And retired from a 30-year career in social research, Joanne has become an author, speaker, and workshop leader, celebrating her joy-filled senior years with her husband of 48 years and their children and grandchildren. She has committed the rest of her life to inspiring others to make forgiveness a natural way of living, healing themselves and their world in the process. Her book, The Forgiveness Habit, an action plan for healing ourselves and our planet, with a foreword from Desmond Tutu, provides all you need to know to make forgiveness a natural part of our life. Joanne, welcome.
Thank you. It's very good to be here with you. What a joy. What fun. Great.
Well, we have Karen here from France. Karen's in Paris. And we have Joanne, we have Sharon here, who's from Houston. So I don't know whether you know Sharon.
Yes, I know Sharon very well. Yes. She told me she registered. Yes.
Excellent.
Hi, Sharon. Hi, Karen.
So, Joanne, share a little bit of your story. I know we've just read out that you were very angry, and sort of you felt that victim, etc. But share just a little bit about your I suppose awakening to what was going on in your life.
Yeah. I need to say that it was a long time before I felt angry. I got taught. I grew up in a Methodist minister's home, and I was taught to not ever get angry, to not express any anger at all. That's the way my parents believed, and they especially didn't want me getting angry at any friends of mine that I had, that they were in our church, and my mother firmly believed that it was wrong to get angry at people that you loved. So I wasn't even allowed to get angry at my brothers. For goodness sakes, growing up, brothers do things to sisters, but I got taught not to get angry, and I learned to stuff any upsets that I had. If I came in from school upset about something, my mother would just say something like, "Oh, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." And, just put a smile on your face and go on. And so I did that. I learned to do that. But what I did with my upsets were to stuff them. And I just did that throughout. I got married and still stuffed my anger. I had children and still stuffed my anger, except maybe 2 or 3 times a year when I would explode. I couldn't stuff it anymore, and I'd explode, and then have to deal with, I'm sorry, whatever, because no one understood why I was exploding, and I didn't either. Eventually, after my second child was born, I went into a very deep depression, and hung on to that for about almost a year, because I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea. I just didn't know. I just knew I couldn't function. And eventually, I'll say God put someone in front of me, a therapist, spoke at my daughter's school PTA meeting, and I liked her. And so I talked to her and started seeing her. And she opened me up to a lot of wonderful things. I began to learn about all kinds of transformational help and self, study, and, just really opening myself up to things. She also tried to get me to express anger, and I couldn't. I absolutely couldn't. And, a big thing of pounding on a pillow, pounding. And you had to put a big pillow in front of me. I pound that pillow. Well, this was me pounding a pillow.
Right.
I'm pounding a pillow. Can you see me? I don't know. Can you see me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pounding. And at one point she told me I was the most passive person she had ever met in her life. And I couldn't do it. But I listened to her, and she talked to me about expressing anger, and we worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. And then my husband got transferred. We were living here in Houston at the time, and my husband got transferred with his work to upstate New York, and near the Albany area. And we moved up there, and I did not seek out another therapist at all. I just jumped into my new life and just making a new life, and I was happy with it and everything. And then one day something happened, and I got mad at somebody and expressed some anger. I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. I felt good. And then something else, a week or 2 or 3 later, I expressed some anger again, and like, oh, wow, yeah, that was good. And I did it again and again and again. Since it felt so good, I really started expressing anger all the time. And of course, since I didn't seek out any help, you can guess what happened. Went the other way completely. And I just, anytime somebody said something or did something I didn't like, I got angry at them. I didn't care. I mean, in public anyway, it didn't matter. I didn't have to know them. If I didn't like something that happened in a store, I'd get mad. And eventually it got to where I would scream at people. I'd not just get mad. I would scream at people, and I would want the whole store to hear me, because I knew I was right and they were wrong. And I wanted everybody to know how wrong that person was and how right I was. And what woke me up was that at one point, my daughters and I were going shopping in their favorite mall, and they were teenagers, and they were walking behind me as we went in. I heard them talking, but I couldn't understand them. And just before we went in the door, they stopped me and they said, Mom, we want you to promise us that you won't scream at anybody in here today. Otherwise, we don't want to go in the store. We'll just wait in the car and you do your shopping, and we'll just wait for you. Well, I was shocked. I was truly shocked, because I mean, teenage girls not wanting to go shopping in their favorite mall, because of something I was doing. I was totally shocked. And so I said, okay, I won't. I promise I won't. And guess what happened? I did. Something happened, and I got upset and I screamed. And of course they were upset. And then I started working on it and promising, okay, I won't scream. Every time we'd go to the store, I promised not to scream. Guess what? I screamed. And I began to discover I couldn't stop it. I could, in the same way that I couldn't express anger before, now I couldn't stop expressing anger. And I really couldn't. I mean, I didn't want to. I really promised I would. I'm not going to. And I would. So the years went by. I didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. I mean, the family loved me, and, life went on. They left home, grew up, left home and everything. And eventually what started showing up in front of me, every time I sat down in a doctor's office, a dentist's office, anywhere that I was in a waiting room with magazines, I'd pick up a magazine and there'd be an article in there on forgiveness. And I would turn to that and read it. And it was very interesting. And I started seeing things on TV. Magazines we were getting at home started showing up with forgiveness articles. And so, I'm not stupid. It's like, okay, now God wants me to do some forgiving. I need to get the message. And eventually in 2000, in the year 2000, we had moved back to Houston at that point. We were living in Houston, and I committed to studying forgiveness. And I really took it on, and I was led to a book that was really just worked for me. and because I didn't want anything that was real religious, but I wanted it to be spiritual, but not a particular religion or a particular right religious way of thinking or something. I had to have something that was spiritual, but very open-minded and thinking. And I found that book and studied it, and found the guy and went to his workshops, and even had to travel to other states and so on to go to the workshops. But I liked it so much, and I learned and learned, and he got me to pound pillows also. But it was to express to express my anger so that I could then forgive what was going on. And I just really, I really started, I did a lot of forgiving, but there was still something that I wanted, more. I didn't want to have to stop every so often and forgive somebody or some situation. And so I kept studying and studying and reading, and eventually got to where I discovered some things that helped me just learn to make forgiveness a way of life, just to be forgiving all the time. And I was sharing this with one of my daughters, Jennifer, for anyone listening that knows my girls. I was sharing with Jennifer a lot, and we just really, there was something she said to me one time that made all the difference for me as far as staying with it and working with it. She said, "Oh, Mom, you're saying things that I never thought I would hear you say. You were always a good, wonderful, loving mom, but you were always so angry." And I just learned that I had to accept that my mom was a very angry mom. She was a loving mom, but she was very angry, and that's just the way it would be. And now I'm hearing you talk about letting go of the anger, and it's all disappearing, and you're a different person, and I'm so, so happy. Well, I was too. I was happy also. It just felt good. So, I continued studying and working on it. And one of the things that made a big difference for me was that I just want to share this quickly, is a book. I was in a bookstore one day, and I came across a forgiveness book by Gerald Jampolsky, and I was just flipping through. It was a little book, and I was just flipping through it, and he had quotes on it. He'd have like one quote on a page, just all by itself, and that makes it real easy to read. And I just saw one, and I read it. Forgiveness is letting go of all hopes for a better past. Now, in forgiveness circles nowadays, that's a very common statement, but in 2000, it wasn't. 2001, when I saw it. And I saw that, I read it again and again, and I nearly fell down laughing, because I realized that what I had been desperately trying to do was create a better past for myself. Even though I had studied and learned that we need to let go of the past, even though I'd done a lot of forgiving, it wasn't that I had not let go of it, it's that I wanted it to be different from what it was. That's the way I was thinking. And I began to realize that my past got me to where I was now, and that I needed to be grateful for it, and be in a joyful, happy, grateful now, right now, this present moment. And it's when I got that clearly, that's when everything started to shift and really just work for me in every kind of way. Just, it was great.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important that people understand how we get to where we are, and that being grateful to our past, in spite of the fact that it may not have been a brilliant past in some respects, it makes us who we are. And
Yes.
if we're happy with who we are now, it doesn't matter what that past is. We can be grateful for everything it's helped us with to become who we are.
Exactly. It got me to study all this on forgiveness, and to forgive and to let things go, and it just got me to the place that and I'm very, very, very happy now. I mean, that includes forgiving my husband. And there was a time, one thing that happened My girls came to us at one time because my husband and I were fighting so much at one point, and my two teenage girls came and said, "Mom, we've been talking, and we want to talk with you and Dad, and we want to just say that if you'll just promise us that you'll stay together for as long as we're at home, once we're out and gone, you can get a divorce with our blessing. It'll be just fine, no problem." And so we agreed to that. And, I'm grateful because it made all the difference. It kept us together long enough that we could finally choose to stay together and work through things when we thought it wasn't going to happen,
Yeah.
So, yeah, being grateful for everything that happens in your life. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit, a lot more, when I talk about gratitude.
Absolutely. No, brilliant. Just to say, we've got Hera with us, we've got Randy Joe with us, and we've got Abigail with us. So we've got a couple of the people. I think some of those
Hello, everybody. Yeah.
Okay, so we've set up just a couple of questions, but obviously, folks, if you're there and you've got any questions you would like me to put to Joanne, please feel free to ask those questions. We haven't got to use the ones we've put here. It's important that you're having the answers to the questions that you want. But the first question I'm going to ask you is, how do you feel that forgiveness relates to healing?
Great question. Thank you. Well, there's all kinds of healing. First of all, forgiveness helps us heal emotionally. And I think that's one of the most important things, is to clear our emotions and to, it actually is a healing, and it feels like a healing when you can go from anger and rage to just feeling free and open and happy. When you don't feel the need to rage at someone anymore, when you don't feel the need to scream at someone, when you just can let it be and be happy and free, and let someone else do their own thing and be their own way, that's a healing. That's very important and very special. I mean, if you want to be happy in life, you got to get to the place that you can just let other people be and let them be the way they are, and you go on and live your life however you choose to live your life, and think what you want to think and be the way you want to be. So in that way, it's very healing because it frees you and gives you joy and inner power. Another way that it's very healing also, and I want to bring this in, is that it actually can be physically healing also, because when we're angry, when we're walking around with a lot of emotional anger, a lot of pain, emotional pain, we're filling every cell of our bodies with emotional toxins. Now, that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but it really, really is that we fill ourselves with emotional toxins when we are angry. And when we're angry all the time, like I was, I was just, I think if I had continued much longer that way, I would have been physically sick. And I know that cancer was always rampant throughout both sides of my family. And my mother and her mother never made it to 65. They both died of cancer. And I suspect, had I not cleared myself, and cleared my body of these toxins and given up all my anger and everything, I would probably either already be dead or I would be dealing with cancer myself. I firmly believe that my forgiveness and continuing to work on it and really, really keeping myself clear of emotional toxins has allowed me to make it to almost 72 when my mother and her mother didn't get to 65. And I feel like in every way you want to think about it, forgiveness is healing, very, very healing. And I just, that's why I consider it so very important. One of the reasons so very important to share it and let people know about it.
And that makes so much sense. Yes, you said it's the emotional toxins, the forgiveness, the fear, the anger is usually sort of created by. So yeah, holding on to the fear, to the anger, the hatred, all those negative feelings can never do you any good at all.
Right.
So absolutely. No, okay. Amin says, holding on to anger towards someone is like swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yes, exactly. It is. It's just that, because forgiveness, I mean, if you're holding on to anger, it doesn't do anything to the other person. Often they don't even know it. They don't even know they've hurt you frequently, they don't even know, and then you hold on to anger and so you end up hurting yourself rather than the other person. So yeah, it really, really is. That's the case.
Absolutely. In most cases, the only person affected by something like that is yourself, and it's not the other people.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So next we've got I mean, I knew it wasn't your quote, but it's one because it's one I've seen before, but it's a brilliant quote. It really is. Why does forgiveness seem so difficult?
Okay, great question. I mean, how many years have we been hearing that, to forgive, the power of forgiving, forgive and forget? I mean, it's just for years and years and years we've heard forgive. I mean, it's in the Bible. It's Christian. It's we should forgive our enemies. All of that, and yet we don't do it. It just always, to most people, seems so difficult to do. And I was wondering that myself in my studies, and I came up with 3 things that I think block us, that make forgiveness so difficult or seem so difficult. I call them 3 negative habits that we all have. We all have them, and you can't not have it. And after I talk about these habits just a little bit, I'll talk about how you can deal with these negative habits, because we all have them. And it's blaming, whether you're blaming others or you're blaming yourself. It's the same toxic thing. It's blaming.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're blaming, I guarantee you're needing to be right. It goes hand in hand with blaming. You've got to be right, and the other person is wrong, and you want people to know how right you are, how wrong that other one is. And then the third one is judging, negative judging. We all do this. You can't not judge. Judging is a part of life, and there are times when it's good. I mean, we judge, and we learn to judge as human beings because it's part of safety. It's a part of taking care of ourselves. There's some judging that's necessary, but the kind of judging that goes on where we point the finger at people and laugh or make them wrong or whatever, that's not necessary. And we all do that also. So, but it's those 3 things keep us from well, they make it very difficult to forgive. Let me put it that way. They hold us back. I want to tell a story. One of the things that I think I've got the time. How we deal with that. One of the things we all do are that when something happens to us, we have a story that comes up in our minds, and we talk about it in our minds and to anyone that'll listen. For example, back before I started studying forgiveness, we had moved back to Houston already from New York, and we lived near a large interstate highway. And I would get on that highway to run errands, to go to the mall, to go to whatever I was doing. I was coming back one day, and I could go, the speed limit on the highway was 65 miles per hour, and I was going 65. And I got to my exit, and I could see it was on the frontage road that I would exit onto was 3 lanes, and there was not a car on it. There wasn't even a car approaching. It was empty. So instead of, normally I would have to put on the brakes and work my way into traffic on the frontage road. But this time there were no cars. So I just took my foot off the brake and just was, letting the car slow down on its own. And as in that process, I zoomed past a speed limit sign that said 45 miles per hour. And of course, I was going 60 something at that point. And just on the other side of that sign was a policeman waiting for someone to do just what I did. Now, at this point, I can laugh about it. I've dealt with it, I've cleared it and all of that. I can laugh about it. At the time that it happened and I got a ticket, it wasn't funny. At that time, I was raging about it. I thought it was so wrong. I mean, in the city of Houston, millions of people living here with all kinds of mayhem going on, all kinds of traffic problems everywhere, all kinds of stuff. What was a policeman doing sitting on watching an empty 3-lane frontage road, waiting for someone to do just what I did, obviously so he could get his ticket quota? Well, of course, I had to, so that I had to go to traffic school so that it wouldn't get applied to my insurance that I got a ticket, still had to pay $150 ticket and so on. I ranted about this for ages. It went, anytime anyone would listen, I talked about it anytime. I mean, in my head all the time. I carried on, just in my head, just going like crazy in my head. I was so upset about it. And, finally it took, some forgiveness work to let it go. It wasn't until I studied forgiveness that I began to let it go. And so that's the kind of thing that we get into when we're blaming and being right. Because I was right that policeman shouldn't have been sitting there watching that empty frontage road. I couldn't go to traffic court and object because, yes, I was speeding. I mean, I couldn't object. I was going faster than that speed limit sign said I should be going. So anyway, we do, we come up with all of this. I mean, I don't care what your story is. I probably know it. I've probably told it at some time, whatever you have going. I'm sure I've had it at some time, saying, well, raging about it. And those 3 things fill us. If they block more than anything else that I know: blaming, being right about it, and judging. Yeah. And what I said, you can't not have them, but what you can do is you can catch yourself doing it and say, oh, here I am blaming again. Oh, I'll let that go. Okay, I'm judging, or I'm, I know I'm being right, and I am right, but so what? Okay, I'm being right again. That's catch myself. This is my 3rd time today. Let me see. Maybe I catch myself 3 more times today. Play with it. Play with it. And even, like with judging, because you're going to judge. If you see someone walking down the street, a young woman who has, like a mohawk, not her hair down, but her hair standing up, and it's in 3 colors of hot pink and neon yellow and neon green, you're going to judge. And what I say is, play this game. You catch yourself judging and say, yeah, that's right, just like me. And if your mind screams, no, just say, yeah, just like me, just like me. Because the thing is, whether you're blaming or being right or judging, you're doing it because you're actually incomplete with something within yourself. When you have an incomplete within yourself, you judge others, when in fact it's yourself that you're dealing with. You're tying yourself to the other person. And you want to let that go. So you see someone and you judge them and say, just like me. You can turn it into a game, even when you say something like, wow, that person's so awesome. Oh, wow. And then say, just like me. And your mind will still scream and say, no, but say, yes, just like me. I'm great too. I'm great also. So you want to just get it that the blaming and the being right, the need to be right, and the judging are things that hold us back, and it's about ourselves. It truly has nothing to do with the other person. I mean, any young woman that can walk down the street with a mohawk and three bright colors like that ought to be just really, you ought to be like, wow. You ought to be just going, wow, that she's got what it takes to do that, to walk in public like that. I couldn't do that. I wouldn't get myself out there that way. It wouldn't happen. And so, it's just look at what's missing within ourselves, and then play with it and get to the place that you can ease up about it. And then you can do the next set of practices that I'm going to talk about. Okay. You can get into those.
Yeah. I think when we see people like that and we go into that judgment mode,
yeah,
actually, they have got, for want of a better word, the courage to be themselves.
Yes.
Whether they're trying to make a statement, whatever it is, they are having the courage to be who they choose to be.
Exactly.
There is no right or wrong. They're just having to say, the courage to say, this is me, like me or loathe me, I don't care. And that's how we should all be. I'm not saying anyone should go out to hurt anybody. I am not saying that. I'm not condoning people hurting, physically hurting each other. I'm really not. But we should be true to who we are.
Exactly. Absolutely. And power to people who do that, who are who they are, no matter how it may look to many of the rest of us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Brilliant.
So,
and then the final question is, how do we make it a habit?
Okay, great. So again, and studying and working on forgiveness and getting myself to the place that I could just be forgiving. I came up with 3 basic practices, and then I added one, and I'll add it on. I call it a practice, but it's a little separate from the first 3 that I'm going to talk about. One of my favorite quotes in the world is from Desmond Tutu, and he said, "We must learn to see with the eyes of God, that is, with the eyes of the heart, and not just the eyes of the head."
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that, and that's what these 3 practices will get us to. Okay, so the first one that I think is so important and so powerful is gratitude. Practicing gratitude is one of the most powerful things we can do in life. I mean, we don't get taught. We get taught as children to say thank you when someone gives us something, but no one teaches us to be grateful for absolutely everything we've got in life. Everything. And when you practice gratitude, and especially if you stop and write down a list of things you're grateful for, it gets you from your mind into your heart space, the space of God. When you do that, it actually has you turn off for a little while that voice in your head that never shuts up. I think you had Tommy on one time about the chatter relaxer. That chatter in our heads that just never stops. And one of the things that I say helps with that is to write a gratitude list. And for a little while, you either stop or slow down the chatter, the noise, the talk that just goes on and on and on. And I just really, there's gratitude when it's practiced as a way of life is about being grateful, as we said earlier, for everyone and everything in your life, no matter what. It's gotten to you to where you are now. However much, I look back at things I did earlier and screaming at people and so on, and I'm sorry for that. And sometimes I hate to think about it, but at the same time, I'm grateful I went through it, because it pushed me to learn enough about forgiveness that I could get to where I'm just free and happy now. I'm free and happy. And, if I do occasionally get mad, there's nothing wrong with anger. You know, I'm not making anger bad and wrong. We get angry sometimes, but I don't get angry and scream. I catch myself being angry and it's like, okay, you know, let's look at this and deal with this. I don't get mad and just lose control and scream anymore. That's just gone. And my husband and I are happy together now. I mean, we're totally happy. You know, I 48 years together, and I hope we have many more. And gratitude has played a big, big part in that. One thing, I'm not in my book is a story. I don't have time. We're running out of time. So I'm not going to tell this story, but it's in my book. But the upshot of the story is that what is recommended, what comes out of this story is to say every day, many times a day, a mantra to say many times a day, thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. Write it on cards, write it on Post-it notes, put it up where you'll see it so you don't forget. Just say all the time, thank you for everything. I have no complaint whatsoever. And that, I tell you, and then make a list in the morning, in the evening. If that doesn't work for you, find a time during the day. Gratitude list is one of the most powerful things you can do. Do it every day. And think of everything you're grateful for. Think this way. If you have trouble thinking of what to be grateful for, think of it this way. If you were to wake up in the morning and you knew that when you woke up the next morning, you were going to have you would have in your life only the things you expressed gratitude for the day before, what would you express gratitude for? Think of it that way. I bet you could be writing all day long. So another practice is reverence for all. And I truly mean reverence for all. Gratitude bestows reverence. This is another quote I like. Gratitude bestows reverence, allowing us to encounter everyday epiphanies, those transcendent moments of awe that change forever how we experience life and the world. And that is from John Milton, 17th century English poet. I just think that's beautiful and awesome. Reverence for all means reverence for all life, reverence for all the earth, reverence for all the universe. I literally mean reverence for all. And we get taught so often growing up as to some things are sacred and other things are profane and, you know, they don't matter. It's the sacred things that matter. Well, I'm saying everything is sacred. Everything matters. Everything. And how we reverence for all has to be nurtured and developed. It's not something we just grow up with. So what I recommend is that you literally stop every day for a little while. And I like to play with this. So I came up with an acronym, STOP, stop. Spend time out purposefully. Spend time out peacefully. Spend time out prayerfully, or even create a sacred or silent time of peace or prayer. You know, you can play with that any way you want to. Whatever gets you to stop and spend some time out peacefully or purposefully, expressing gratitude, being in nature. One of the best ways you can nurture reverence is to be in nature. And I mean really go out and connect. If the weather's warm enough, go barefoot somewhere where you can go barefoot. If it's in your yard or you go to the beach or somewhere where you can be barefoot and connect with the earth, the sun, or the sky above. Connect. Pick up some parts of nature and hold them in your hands and really fully connect with nature. Another way is to sit by a tree or to literally and put your hands on it or literally hug the tree. Talk to the tree. Listen to the tree. Do you know that trees will talk to you? If you listen, they will talk to you. Listen, what an awesome thing. When I discovered that, I was like, wow, oh my gosh, this tree is actually talking to me. I can hear it. Now, that may sound crazy, but I promise you, if you try it, really seriously try it, you'll be amazed. Try sitting and just looking at the clouds, or lying in the grass or on a bench and just looking at the clouds. be a child again and see what shapes, and so when you can, just go out and love nature. Look like, be an artist. See as an artist. What shapes and colors and everything do you see in nature? What beautiful colors and shapes. It's just, spend time out there. Go out at night, especially if you're fortunate to live out from the city.
Yeah.
Oh, look up at the sky. I was so blessed. When we lived in New York, we were in what I called rural suburbia, and it was far enough away from the city that we didn't have the city lights. And in the wintertime, we'd go out. I'd bring the kids out. I'd wake them up at midnight and go out and show them the Milky Way. The Milky Way. Oh my goodness. And sometimes even we saw the Northern Lights. I say, if you're too much in the city and that you can't experience this, plan a vacation to get way out in the country sometime and experience this. Get your children or grandchildren and get them to experience it with you. And then finish it all off with gratitude. Express gratitude. After you do this each day, express gratitude. Make a gratitude list. It goes hand in hand, and I tell you, it'll change your life. It'll absolutely change your life. Then there's the practice of oneness. Now, oneness is not something that's so easy for us to understand, but I have another quote with gratitude, but leading to oneness. As we express gratitude with every breath, we become a symphony of compassion, love, and understanding. Borders of separation within dissolve, and an awareness of our oneness with all. Again, I'm watching the clock and the time is going by. Oneness is so important. Oneness is about who we really, really are. We're one with God. We're one with the universe. We're one with all that is. However you want to put it, one with the great one or the great spirit, whatever you want to say, it doesn't matter to me. We are one, and quantum physics is teaching us that we're at a soul level, at the most basic level, we are all connected. We are all one, really, literally all one. And I would like to read a poem right quick that I think is just so beautiful, and it's on my website. If anyone wants to find it, go back to it later. I am love. From the heart of me that is the heart of God, love streams forth to all my worlds, and I am one. We are love. From the light we share within the mind of God, love streams forth to all our worlds, and we are one. Man is love. From the race of men where flames the will of God, love streams forth to all his worlds, and man is one. All is love. From the all in all that is the life of God, love streams forth, God's plan made real, and all is one. What I want to say is that if you practice those three things daily, forgiveness will become a habit, a natural way of being. Practice gratitude, reverence for all, and oneness daily. And then as you do that and you forgive and you let things go, one of the things you can start doing is telling new stories. We're all so used to telling our poor me victim stories, like my story of getting the ticket. And I told that plenty when that happened. But believe it or not, years after I had gone through this work and everything, I had rented a car, and I was going to pick up some people in Houston and go to Galveston. And it was a bigger car than I was used to, and I forgot how fast it would go without, I just didn't even realize. And I got stopped. Again. I was on the highway and I got stopped for speeding. And what I did this time, rather than get mad, I let the policeman write me a ticket. I thanked him for it, and I thanked him for doing a good job and for doing a often thankless job. And I told him that I appreciated that he stopped me, because it was a rent car and I didn't realize how quickly it would go so fast. because I was doing 80 something when he stopped me. It's like, oh my gosh. And he was surprised, and he was, well, that's a good attitude, ma'am. Thank you very much. And he walked off. Then I went to the group that I was meeting with and told them about it. And it was just great. It was like, what a great story to tell, rather than, oh, you can't believe what happened to me today. No, I told the story. Wow, you know what happened to me today? And it was such a joyful story, and so happy and so inspiring to everybody. I ask you to tell new stories, and don't listen to people's sad, oh, poor me victim stories. Don't listen to them. Stop them and don't let them tell them. Unless someone is talking to you one-on-one and needs to tell it one time, but don't let that person tell it a second or third or fourth. Don't let it happen more than once. So, telling new stories, practicing gratitude, reverence for all, oneness, that will get you to a place where forgiveness is a way of life, I promise you, and a joy, and will have you living in freedom, power, and joy all the time. It's awesome. Okay?
Thank you so very much. Folks, if you are interested in Joanne's book, it's called The Forgiveness Habit. It is on Amazon, Kindle, and you can get it at her website. Brilliant. Hang on. Let me bring that up. Leave it. Put it back up. Put it back up. There you go. The Forgiveness Habit. That's it. Brilliant. Thank you. And you can also get it to her website, which is www.theforgivenesshabit.org. I will put the website address under the YouTube video, but that will be tomorrow morning my time. So if you're watching this overnight, so 22nd, 23rd, so it may not be under there, come back to it. We will share the website, so in case you haven't understood what I'm saying, because I'm rabbiting fairly fast now. I want to say a huge thank you to Joanne for joining us, for sharing so much with us. I know we could talk about this a lot more, but we aren't going to. And do feel free to go to her website if you want to share anything or ask her any questions. Joanne's quite happy to hear from you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Please contact me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
So feel free to do that. Next week, we're not sure what's happening next week, because unfortunately I heard from my next week's guest yesterday with the fact that she can't join us. So it's going to be a potluck week next week. In fact, if you go on the website giftofhealing.tv.com at the moment, you will find a lovely picture of question marks. I love it. I love doing this. The universe has chucked something at me. They know who they want on the program next week. I don't. And the sooner they let me know, the better, so I can let that individual know. So do join us next week. We're going to have a potluck next week. Next week, because right at this precise moment in time, I have no idea. But you will find on the website the link to be able to register for next week's program, regardless of what it is. So it was going to be a shamanic journey, but I know it's not going to be that, or it's unlikely to be that now. So thank you, folks, for joining us this week. I hope you will join us next week, and you'll find more on the website about what's coming up over the next few weeks as well. We've got a few thank yous here. Amin says, fantastic book. Hera says, thank you. Karen says, thank you very much for sharing. Very interesting and inspiring. Amin, what an inspirational webinar. And Amin, again, thank you. Mrs. Joanne. So I'm assuming that's somebody who knows you.
That's someone who knows me, yes. We know each other quite well, yes.
Excellent. So thank you, folks, for being with us here this evening. And I hope you've enjoyed that. And I hope those of you watching the replay and watching the YouTube video in the days, weeks, months, and years to come will have enjoyed it as well. Love you all. Thank you, Joanne, for being here.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you.
And
Awesome.
we will see you all again next week. Love, peace, and light to you all. Namaste.